welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to talk about the brand new shark movie on Netflix. But before we get into this one, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe. I would appreciate that. And also, as always, a shameless plug for my TeePublic store. I have a link for that in the description box below. And yes, we have a brand new Netflix shark movie. Although this movie did not start off as a Netflix movie. We'll talk about that as we go through this review. Now, this movie is directed by Tommy Wirkola. He is most famous for Dead Snow, Hansel and Gretel, Vampire Hunters with Jeremy Renner, and also Violent Night with David Harbour and The Violent Night 2. He directed that too. It's coming out later this year. Now, this movie was shot under Sony Pictures. It was actually meant to be a theatrical release, but they ended up giving it to Netflix to release, or selling it to Netflix to release, and that's how we're getting it now. It just dropped on Thursday or Friday last week. I got to sit down and watch it last night. The only actor in this movie I'm super familiar with is Damian Hinz's in this movie. He plays the uncle of the one character, Dakota, who is definitely affected by this Category 5 hurricane. Basically, this all centers around this small town of South Carolina. There's on the coast, and this Category 5 hurricane is coming in. And people are trying to get out of this little community. And the storm surge comes in, floods the town, and along with it, a bunch of bull sharks and one giant great white take over the town and start eating the residents. And we've basically, the film focuses on a few small groups of people, some of which meet at some point, some of which never have any interactions with each other. They have their own little quests, and at the end of the film, some people survive, a bunch of people get eaten, and that is pretty much Thrash. What to like about this film? Well, look, when it's a Netflix film, depending on who directs it, my expectations are not that high. Tommy Wirkola has directed some stuff I've enjoyed. Violent Night, I enjoyed Hansel and Gretel Vampire Hunters for what it is. I've actually never seen Dead Snow, funny enough. I have to correct that. I have friends that love that movie, but I've never seen it. I think he does a nice job with the camera. In terms of the camera movements, the way the shots are framed, I think he does a really nice job. He's a seasoned director. He's been around for a while. He's made some solid movies, and there's definitely the camera work is solid here. The production value, they must have had somewhat of a budget here. And I'm not saying they had a huge budget. They must have had somewhat of a budget here, because I think the storm effects come off pretty well. It's a mixture of practical effects. They built, this was all shot in Australia, even though it takes place in South Carolina. It was all shot down in Australia, and they actually did build houses and sets and flood them and whatnot. So they did use a mixture of practical and CGI. And for the most part, I felt the storm stuff worked pretty well. And basically, this movie is, if you remember the alligator movie Crawl, directed by Alexander Aja, it's produced by Sam Raimi some years ago. This movie reminds me of that film, only with sharks. Where that film dealt with a storm coming in and an alligator is trapped. This girl gets trapped in the crawl space under her house with an alligator. This is sharks, and it's more of a little bit of a bigger scope because it takes place in this little town, downtown area. Character-wise, honestly, the characters are just stock characters. We know very little about them. One girl's pregnant. Our lead is pregnant, and she leaves work way too late and gets stuck in the flooding. She's from New York and acts like she doesn't know anything about hurricanes, which is kind of frustrating, considering she's been listening to the radio and news reports. And she's surrounded by locals, but yet she acts like she's surprised she gets caught in this flooding. It's kind of annoying. Dakota has agoraphobia, I think, or whatever you call it, where she's afraid of being outside, around people. They don't really get into why, other than her mother passed away and her father's not around, and her uncle's the only relative she has close by. They set it up where she's afraid to be out. She gets panic attacks and she's taking Xanax. But honestly, it's very basic, the characterization here. We also got another group of kids, two brothers and a sister, who are living in this foster home with these two redneck scumbags who are just doing it to get the check from Uncle Sam. And they set that up, but it's very just surface level basic stuff. We don't really get to see anything other than to treat the kids semi-poorly, and then the foster parents get eaten at some point. So that's, it's very surface level stuff. There's not deep character work here, which I guess, considering what the movie is, I guess it didn't need to be. really. And then you got Damien Hinsu's character, who's like a marine biologist, and he's just trying to get to this little town to save Dakota, because he can't reach her because all the communications cut off, and he knows the town's flooded, and he knows sharks have moved in, and this great white he's been tracking is in the area as well. So other than that, characterization-wise, the characters are just very basic here. This is like Friday the 13th slasher movie basic characterization here. There's not a whole lot. And the movie's only an hour and 26 minutes long. It moves fast. I mean, as a matter of fact, the build-up, we're pretty much into it. We set the town up very briefly, and the storm hits. I mean, you might get less than 10 minutes of build-up. Like, they're talking about the storm coming in, and we introduce the characters quickly, all our different characters very quickly, and then we're off. The storm hits, the town gets flooded, and then we're watching our characters try to navigate these situations and try to get to higher land or a higher level in a house, and the sharks are tearing people apart. So, you know, the story itself is this is very basic stuff. I don't even know if there was enough of a script here to make a full-length movie, but we get a full-length movie out of it. Now, the elephant in the room is always going to be with a movie like this, the sharks. Now, from what I've read, and there's not a whole lot on the production of this movie other than the titles changed a bunch, and it was originally meant for a theatrical release and Sony sold it to Netflix. From what I've read from the interview with the director, the sharks were pulled off with animatronics, which in some scenes you can tell there's an animatronic shark there, and CGI. For the most part, I will say, I'll give this movie credit where Under Paris, the other shark movie went to Netflix last year or the year before, which this used, you could tell they used a mixture, where I thought Under Paris was mostly CGI and really bad CGI. Now, don't get me wrong, there are moments in this movie where the CGI is, let's just say, less than stellar, and it looks like they even used the film at times, even though I like the camera work, at times it looks like it's using motion smoothing on the image. Is very weird at points where the image looks almost real but fake at the same time. It's hard to describe unless you watched the movie. There was parts of the movie where the camera, the image looks almost like it was it was real, but then it looked like it was manipulated somehow. With it, I don't know with what, but it looked off to me, where it didn't look right. I don't know what was used, how the movie was, you know, where one shot looks totally like it was on a set, and then there's another shot where it kind of looks like it's real, but it looks just weird, like uncanny valley kind of stuff. And I don't know if it was CGI, AI, I don't know what they used, but there was parts of the movie that just looked like trash to me. Overall, look, this isn't breaking any new ground. I'm not even going to compare this to Jaws, because I don't think it's not like Jaws at all. This is more like Crawl. If I had to compare it to another movie, I would compare it to Crawl. It's definitely more in that vein. I had a good enough time with it for what it is. The characterization's dog shit. This reminds me of a slasher movie. This has the characterization of a slasher movie from the 80s, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Does it have an identity? No. It's kind of like the movie just happens. I had some fun with it. Some of the attack sequences are well handled here. I mean, we do got a seasoned director here handling it. It's just all at the end of the day seems very basic, with some cool scenes, but not a lot else. I was entertained for the hour and 26 minutes long, but I could honestly see why this didn't go theatrical. I don't think this would have did well at all in a theatrical space. So this is definitely a streaming movie. Now, I did like it, enjoyed myself more than Under Paris from a year or two ago, but at the end of the day, this is not going to be the next great shark movie. It's okay at best. And so I would give Thrash a 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10 for Thrash. It's a perfectly okay shark movie. It's not going to reinvent the wheel. I didn't hate it, but it definitely, I can see why this didn't go theatrical. Besides some of the camera work, this is not a theatrical film. So 6.5 out of 10 for Thrash. Have you watched this yet? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. That is it for this review. I will be back with some more Chuck Norris movie reviews. We have some more of those in the tank. I got some other horror reviews coming up. And we'll do a couple new movies. I plan seeing Normal coming up this weekend. So I'll have a review out for that. I want to see The Mummy. So yeah, some fun stuff coming. And plus I'll announce the live stream coming up soon. I'm planning on doing that next Friday. And I think I have the movie picked out. I was talking to Troy and I think we have it locked down, but I got to discuss it with him some more. But that's it for this one. Until next time, bye.